Hello, and welcome to episode 6. Are we on? Was that 6? I think we agreed at 6. Yeah, episode 6 of the Tech Talk show. Today we're joined by Joe from Gamma. Hello, Joe.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Thank you for joining me. We are basically here to talk about hosted phone systems today, and a bit of other technology that surrounds it. There's obviously a bit of integration with lease lines and other kind of connectivity. But Joe, I don't know if you want to do a bit of an intro of who you are and background and,
Sure.
and a bit on Gamma as well.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for having me. So my name's Joe Pratt, and I'm one of the hosted sales specialists at Gamma. So it's my job to work with lots of businesses across the UK to help them evaluate whether actually moving into the cloud for their voice and their telephony services is worthwhile. So as mentioned, I work for Gamma. We're a UK carrier, but we're also the operator of a phone system called Horizon. Now, I guess what's different to most people's phone system is this is one very large phone system in the cloud that people connect to through an internet connection, which we'll come on and talk to in a bit. But it's effectively a way of people consuming, a phone system a bit like they consume Netflix. It's just a price per user per month, and you get all of those things included in on it. And it's a really nice and easy to use system. So I think today we'll just cover off, why businesses are doing it, what are the benefits to doing it, what's going to happen in the future, and maybe some things around like a buyer's guide. What should you look out for? Because I appreciate Horizon's not the only phone system out there, or not the only hosted phone system out there.
Yeah, it's definitely the subscription-based model is definitely where the world's moving to. Obviously, like 365 are all going subscription-based. Everyone, if you can get away with doing subscription-based models, then everyone's doing it because it's obviously better financially, and it's better for our customers and for the end users because it's just a much lower monthly rental, and you just use it for as long as you need to.
Yeah.
And when you don't need it, you can stop it. You can increase, decrease numbers however much you need to. But definitely makes a lot more sense. You must see, I guess, a lot more of it nowadays because 2025 is it BT's announced their ISDN cutoff?
Yeah, so that's the kind of magic, compelling event that is pushing all businesses that operate any sort of phone system into the world of, right, we need to evaluate what we're using at the moment. So anyone that's using an on-premise phone system with BT ISDN connectivity, I guess now's the sort of time to start thinking about, right, what does the next 5 years look like? Because as you've just said, BT are they're looking to turn off that standard connectivity for voice in 2025. So businesses, they've got two options effectively. They can stay with an on-premise phone system, but in which case then they need to upgrade to something called SIP trunking. Now, SIP trunking is basically a phone line but delivered down your internet pipe. Again, works brilliantly well. I should probably point out that Gamma are also the UK leader in SIP trunking. So it's something that we know very well. The benefits of that is, your phone numbers are now effectively moved up into a cloud, and you can point them at slightly different locations. So there's lots of benefits to moving to SIP trunking. The other option would be to go into a fully hosted environment. That's where you get rid of all of your hardware on premise and you move everything into someone else's cloud, such as Gamma's, and then you have that kind of nice Tekkers IT support and service wrap to deliver that service to you as a customer.
We've had that quite often in terms of even just from a cost perspective, because you're then shifting away from the, I don't know, I've not looked at ISDN lines in a long time, but it's normally 15, 20 pounds per ISDN channel or something along
plus
all
all
the
call costs, plus the DDI rental, plus all these things. If you want to, move, if you wanted to move a direction of a port or move a number from pointing at one location to another, that's like a day SLA. It's not something that can happen in real time.
And that's lovely about when the numbers are sat in the cloud. It's such an easy thing just to redirect to move, and migration's become a lot easier over time. So I'm assuming it used to be, it did used to be horrendous. Trying to migrate numbers between platforms, and so I think Gamma, you've got a load of kind of pre-arranged agreements, haven't you? Porting agreements.
Yeah. So we're part of the major PSTN carriers in the UK. So we're one of, I think, about 17 carriers of numbers in the UK. Now we've got porting agreements with, I think, all bar one of those, which is basically where all the kind of senior management came together and said, right, we need to have an open framework to allow us to put an SLA and just make the process a bit easier. Because anyone that's moved phone systems or moved ISDN carrier, it can be a really difficult process. So anything to smooth that migration is definitely a good thing.
Yeah, definitely. And in terms of just, I guess, coming back on the cost side of things, because that's a big reason for lots of people we go to, is that you start looking at the costs and weighing up costs of buying a new phone system with a SIP trunk, or looking at something like Gamma Horizon. As soon as you start looking at ISDN channels and factoring in the fact you don't have them anymore. You can normally move them onto their existing broadband in some cases because they've got enough capacity and enough broadband speed. We do a lot of the Gamma converged lines, so you can run data and voice over the same line.
Yeah.
But you have the guaranteed call quality over
Absolutely.
the converged lines, which is really, really fantastic. And it just takes you from having, some people have 30 channel ISDNs, 30 channels of ISDN, and they'll get condensed down into either the existing broadband they're already paying for, or having a separate line potentially just for the phone calls.
Yeah.
And in some cases, it can actually be, you can be better off. You can actually get a lease line. And pay more, yes, for your broadband, but then you're getting the phones can go over it. You now get a reliable internet connection on the back side of things as well.
I would say there's lots of businesses out there that once they've done the evaluation of the old way of doing things versus the new, there are businesses out there that can find a monthly reduction whilst getting a brand new phone system. So what they pay with the broadband rental plus the rental of the subscriptions is less than what they were paying in line charges. Call cost is a massive one. DDI rental, phone system support and maintenance, all of those things that are actually just wrapped up into that single subscription.
Do you mind talking about just the call costs a bit? Because I know there's some clever stuff that goes on with like terminating at the local areas for calls.
Yeah, so we have a couple of things there. So DDI flexibility. So there might be a business based in Southampton who's always traditionally had Southampton numbers, but wouldn't it be nice if we could have a London number, a Manchester number, a Bristol, and a Birmingham number? Or you can have full CLI flexibility, so you could have all of those numbers pointing at your 10-man office or your 50-man office in Southampton. The other side of it is terminating calls, so we can also present out whatever number you want. So you might be renting an 0300 number or an 0800 number that you want more and more traffic to go down. So we can present out those telephone numbers. And if you want to change it, you log into the portal, say this user, and then you change the presentation of that. And again, the cost, traditionally, if you're on ISDN, it's anywhere between 5 pence and 11 pence per minute for 07 calls. That's something in Horizon. There's some options to absolutely get rid of those call costs, and you can condense them down into a call package. And for certain industries like recruitment, anyone where you're calling lots of 07 numbers, they're the ones who you can kind of condense the current cost down and give them a brand new phone system that is evergreen, constantly updated, a lot like Office 365. So the commercial benefits definitely tie in really nicely to savings around call costs.
And the nice thing just back on the numbers, when you can spin up a number in every single city, they're all completely free. That's a massive bonus we've seen just with other providers out there that will then go and charge to even just if it's £1 or £2 a month, but those can add up as soon as you start. You want a presence in every location in the country. It gets very expensive to rent them on a monthly basis.
Absolutely,
and that's something we found as just an added bonus.
On that, looking at what that subscription comes with, and some people might have a very cheap subscription service, but they charge for hunt groups, telephone numbers, outbound calls. You can charge for all these different things. Whereas I mean, personally, for me, I'd rather have a solution that has, maybe one license with a few bolt-ons, but that one license gets you all of what you would see as core PBX or core phone system functionality. So things like hunt groups, voicemails, you don't want to spin them up and all of a sudden get charged for all these overage uses.
Yeah.
So that's I would say that's a key one as well.
Particularly not core functionality on that side of things. Every time we normally speak to a new customer or potential customer, we're looking at putting in a phone system. You start talking about features, and it's just, from my point of view, I'm just normally sat there going, it's a phone system. Every phone system you're going to look at now will have the same features. Yeah. It's going to have hunt groups. It's going to have call recording is a bit of an interesting one actually, because when you're looking at the likes of on-prem phone systems, particularly like Cisco, big kind of enterprise platforms, and you want anything like reporting or call recording, those are two quite significant investments to add on to the phone system after you've purchased it. That's a massive bonus from our point of view with Gamma. It's fully integrated, and it's actually very, very affordable, if not kind of it doesn't really add any cost at all in some cases. Do you want to just cover the...
Yeah, sure.
You've got some developments on call recording.
Yes.
And the Kixie reporting stuff will be incredible as well.
Okay, fab. So it's a really good point. I mean, you're year one in your business and you go out to market and you buy a phone system, but in year 3, year 5, that phone system or certainly your business will have changed. Therefore, the requirements on that phone system will have changed. And a great example is, when we bought the phone system, we didn't want call recording, but we're 3 years down the line, we've got new compliance that have come in, whether it's FCA or MiFID or whatever it is that have come in and said, actually, no, you need to record calls. for people that are in the on-premise world, it's often a case of buying another big PC, big meaty piece of hardware, licensing it with perpetual software, and then paying support and maintenance on it, even if it just for 5 users.
It's very, very just for itself. That's very expensive.
Yeah.
It can be
So you're looking at
expensive.
a big check that you've got to write just for that in infrastructure. In a hosted environment on the Gamma Horizon platform, if you decide you want to turn call recording on for 1 user, for 5 users, for 25 users, you log into the portal, you select the user, you go to call recording on, and then you can turn it on a percentage, you can turn it on demand. There's no additional cost to set up. Yes, we charge for storage, or we can have a model where we charge per user, but it's a very, very small add-on rather than a large, investment in some hardware. And exactly the same with reporting. So if you decide you have a mini call center, and I'm not saying a room full of people with headsets and huge wallboards, but
we
you've
use
got
it here.
yeah,
There's
exactly.
only 16 of us.
But you want to see how many calls are you missing, or you guys would never miss them, right?
Nope.
But you want to see if you do miss a call, who was it? Who's answering the phone, who potentially is a bit phone shy and not taking those inbound calls.
Yeah.
And for a sales team, it's massive, right? So you need to understand who is making those outbound calls. If it's a telemarketing team or a desk-based sales team, one of those key metrics, obviously how much they sold, but how much effort they putting into making those outbound calls. So again, with Horizon, we want to have 10 more users of reporting. We then want to access that reporting through a nice, easy to use web form or web portal. It's not a heavy lifting IT management thing that you have to do to add these new services on.
Yeah, for us, it's very for both the call recording and the call reporting. It's very, I guess, a bit Apple-esque. It just works.
Yeah,
it's just simple. You literally just switch it on. It does its job, and even the interface. I know you're about to refresh the interface, but even the interface you've got is just straightforward. Search for the number you want, hit search, comes up, download it, you got it.
Yeah,
and that's a big bonus, because lots of the more traditional, older integrated systems with the likes of Cisco's and other kind of Mitel platforms, whatever, they're quite a big beast of a system to set up, configure, maintain, and then start using on a day-to-day basis. So it's it's quite refreshing to have something that's straightforward.
And at that point you said it's quite Apple-esque, and the reason why we love Apple is because once you know how to use it, it's it's so easy to use. And I think phone systems and PBX resellers have always made a lot of money out of it being very complicated.
Yeah.
So the more complicated it is, the more we can charge for professional services. In a Horizon world, if you're happy to have a bit of management or have a bit of time training on the Horizon portal, things like moving people in and out of hunt groups, or changing the on-hold music to a Christmas song at Christmas time, or turning call recording on and off for people. We're not talking about complex changes. We're talking about everyday things that you probably have to do on a weekly or monthly basis. You don't need to ring up an engineering company and say, can you send a man with a van to come and dial into the phone system. It is I log into a portal. I mean, I liken changing the on-hold music to uploading a photo onto Facebook. You literally select you go in, hit that button, and it'll look on your PC desktop and say, that's the file I want to upload. It is genuinely that simple. So there's some huge it's not necessarily cost savings, it's operational savings of, I've got an IT manager, but he spends half his time on his hands and knees plugging around servers and upgrading AD. Well, let's fix that, then move him to Office 365 where it's all upgraded for him. Do the same thing with the phone system, right? Free up your IT manager to be a strategic IT manager, not someone who goes around fixing things. Someone who actually
response as well, quite often,
absolutely
is to be able to. I mean, of course, we have great response times, but there's nothing quicker than if you need something done, you do it yourself. And we'll often get urgent requests of, we've got a new starter starting tomorrow, or they've started today. Can you set them up? And so for them to have the ability to go in and make those changes, people get married, changing surnames, those kind of things. Literally go online. It's quicker for them to go and make the change themselves than it is to then raise a ticket and then wait for a response. It's just straightforward, and it's one of the things we love about it. So I guess for those people that have an existing phone system, do you have any recommendations on why they would consider a cloud-based phone system?
Yeah, so we've obviously touched on some of those already. I think for me, it's that kind of, again, I always use the analogy of Netflix. The reason why I think that one of the reasons why you love Netflix so much is because every time you log into it, every couple of weeks, there's a load of new stuff.
Yeah.
When you have your collection of DVDs, you would have to go to the shop and spend another £10 and, keep adding to that collection. And then you lend it to someone and you never see it again. So, and, there's a reason why Blockbusters is, kind of went out of business and Blockbusters is going from Netflix is going from strength to strength. It's because a cloud-based phone system, we can afford to have lots of developers engineering the latest, greatest things that are needed on a phone system, and we add them to the platform. And rather than adding them to one person that's paid for it, we have an attitude of let's just add it to everyone. It's actually more work to try and segregate it and add it to one person. Let's add it to everyone. So sometimes I'll log into the phone system and go, what's this button doing? So last year we added transfer to 0, which is on a voicemail, rather than saying please redial on this number, which no one ever does. They just leave you a voicemail. We now have an option to say press 0 and then you send them off to the number that you specify. So for you guys, if someone rang Pete and they left you a voicemail but it was about support, they could press 0 and they go straight through to your support team. Now that's not something that was chargeable. It wasn't something that the customers had to pay for or upgrade to. It was just a new feature added to the platform. It's just available to everyone. So a lot like Netflix, there's a new season of Peaky Blinders on, we'll add a new feature and it's just added to the platform straight away.
Speaking of platform, security is a big part of that, of course, particularly in today's age of GDPR and cybersecurity and everything. Bit about the platform, where it's sat.
Sure. So like I said before, there are lots of platforms out there ranging from, they might have, a few hundred users on them. And then there's platforms like us, which has, not able to quote the exact figure, but it's upwards of 400,000. So cool. That to me, so again, seats. So number of people using the system in the UK. So that to me says that, it's trusted by many, used by many. It's been around for over 8 years now. It's, it's actually located in 2 secure data centers in London and Manchester, and then backed up again in another 2 data centers, which, are confidential for obvious reasons. We have a team of network engineers that are constantly looking at it to make sure that it's available and up all the time. It's got 24/7 support running on it at all times. The poor people that have to come in on Christmas Day just to watch this phone system. But it's, when you have that number of users on it, that's really important. And then also the things like accreditations. We do have a quality and compliance team that spend a lot of their time filling out forms for people like ISO, cybersecurity essentials, all the relevant ISO accreditations that you need to run a data center, but also to run a network, to also run a carrier platform. So there's a lot of work that goes into making sure that our platform is very secure. And, things like, fraud management on calls. So if you've ever had a customer who's got ISDN, I can guarantee one month they've had that one where they've employed someone who thinks 118 is a free service. Well, it is free because your work pays for it, right? But it's not. That is a very expensive service to call. And if you're on ISDN, it's very hard to block that number. It's very hard to stop people from doing those calls. So one, you can stop them proactively and say, this handset is blocked from calling those types of numbers. But also you could go down the road of, well, no, we're going to allow people to do it, but we want real-time fraud alerts if it's happening. So if someone was to spend £25 in a single day, by the time we've reached £10, we'd have emailed Tekkers IT to say, this is happening on this customer. You can then contact that customer. Or if it gets to £25 or whatever limit that you set, we can cut that off altogether. So you move away from having what we call bill shocks, where you open the bill and go, what the hell is that number?
I don't think we've never ever had a customer in 8 years of business question a telephone bill, which is good. It's very good, of course. But it just goes to show we have all the fraud alerts set up. It's something we don't necessarily advertise to our clients that often. It's one of those kind of things you think
it's
happens,
there.
Doesn't it? It just happens. We set it up. We've never had to, thankfully, run into any form of issue. And I guess that's also falls back into the you get what you're paying for. With the month rental, you're paying for that security and the constant updates and patching any kind of security holes and that kind of thing, which you wouldn't necessarily get with an on-premise system. Of course, it would be supported, but installing those updates would then be down to you. You'd have to arrange the time to do it, arrange the supplier to do it.
Absolutely.
I think you've got maintenance windows that it never affects any of us. No. It's normally out of general hours between like midnight and 4 or something.
It's very, very rare that we'll do a service impacting upgrade, and that's the benefit of having multiple data centers with multiple instances of the platform. When you
can fail over to one,
when you take down one to do some upgrades or do whatever, the other one's running. And again, because we run a 24/7 operation, that will be happening between the hours of 2 and 4
Yeah.
And for those taxi companies that are running at that time, we'll make special, arrangements for them to make sure that they're not, inconvenienced by any work that we do.
How does that work? Just out of interest, really. So we've got a few companies that work with like airlines that will be open 24/7. How does that work with the maintenance? If I can,
Yeah, no.
ask.
So we would basically put out a notification months and months in advance.
Okay.
And generally speaking, you can do lots of things where it's diverting the numbers to another system or diverting the numbers somewhere else,
Just off the platform. I guess,
off the
doing
platform,
updates.
or
Okay.
generally speaking, it will be a something that causes the handset to reset. So we're not taking we're not taking the system down for hours. It will be a reset to the handset. So within 90 seconds to 2 minutes, the handset's back up and live anyway.
Yeah.
So very little impact is, I guess, is the answer.
And that's from our own personal experience has been one of the best things about the Gamma Horizon platform has been the reliability and the uptime. We, naming no names, we worked with a different provider beforehand. I think for the first couple of years of being in business, and we had regularly days worth of outages. I think we had a week's worth of outage at the very most, and that's when it kind of we broke and we had to do something about it. And we started looking around and we came across Gamma. We had looked at Gamma to begin with, but for whatever stupid reason, we obviously chose the wrong one to begin with.
We've forgiven you, don't worry.
Yes, thank you. But it has literally been since we worked with you. There was, not wanting to force you to talk about it too much, there was a blip at the end of last year, but it has literally been the only thing we've ever seen in eight years we've been selling it, I think, something on those lines. And from my point of view, that was absolutely acceptable. Obviously not on the day, you're cursing yourself on the day. And
Yeah, I think any platform has the risk associated
it's like a
to it.
BC Internet, lease line and things. They will have their days and they will go
Yeah.
down more than once in 8 years, I would say.
Absolutely, and it's how we react, and I think more importantly is what we learn.
Yeah,
and
hugely.
there is still people to this day that are working, going right. Any changes that we do, we have to bear in mind what happened there. So we're always learning from any kind of mistake, no matter how small or how big. So obviously not a good day for us, but I think the way we bounce back from it, and like you said, 8 years. You've had little to no service interruptions. If you have an on-premise phone system or a BT ISDN line, there's two elements there that can potentially cause you way more outages than that.
And even you get more flexibility because there's disaster recovery built into the platform as well. So when there are problems, you can divert to mobiles, you can re-divert off of the platform if you need to.
Yeah, absolutely. And the benefit is that if those calls are included, then diverting off to mobiles, whether it's a planned twinning activity, so you're twinning to a mobile, or it's in a DR situation because your internet line's gone down, you can disaster recovery off to different mobiles, but you're not picking up call costs for that.
The twinning stuff's really interesting because there's a few of those features of where you are, you're working from home and you have no mobile signal, you've got nothing at all. You have a landline, and that's effectively it, I guess. You might even have no broadband, but is it twinning? You can then pair it up with your home landline.
So there's
number?
lots of different things you can do in terms of mobility. I think mobility plays really nicely into the hands of hosted. So technically speaking, if you've got an internet connection, you could use a soft phone. So that would be a PC running a bit of software that you can plug a USB headset into. So that's one option. You use a soft phone and that is your new device. Or you can do something on the platform called Remote Office, which basically forwards your call to any PSTN landline number. Or you can do twinning, which is kind of the same thing, but any inbound call, we're going to try and ring your extension. If that extension can't ring, or anyway, we'll just ring this mobile, or we can actually twin to, I think, 7 numbers.
Wow, okay. So just go one at a time, just tries one at a time.
So we can do both. You can do sequential ringing where it will try your
You can have
mobile,
7
then your
phones ringing
mobile,
all one time.
or you can have seven devices ringing
Probably
all at
not
one
in the same
time.
room, but in different offices. Or,
Yeah,
those
and that's
kind
the
of things.
thing, right? You don't all of these options. You turn them on, turn them off. It's up to you how you want them to work.
Cool. Any advice you would have to give to anyone considering a new phone
so
system?
I think definitely that whole security accreditation. How big are they? Do they have the financials to back it up? Gamma, we're listed on the AIM. We've got a very good share price. It's going in the right direction. No debt. It's making sure that hosted platform's going to be around. We operate through the channel community, but I'm sure people do a financial check on Gamma to make sure that these guys aren't going to go bust anytime soon. So that's a key one. So check financials, make sure you understand the infrastructure to the point of that the locations of the data centers, perhaps if they are at a company that's potentially, headquarters out in the States or something, find out where all the data is going, because obviously GDPR last year, it's really important to know where your data is going, and things like levels of access of the staff. So if you've got call recording turned on the platform, you want to know who's actually got access to those call recordings. So, for example, on our new call recording platform, we have a support user, which, for example, Tekkers IT will be support users. So for any of your customers that have got Horizon call recording, your staff won't be able to listen to those call recordings, which is a massive tick in a box from a GDPR standpoint. So, you're recording them for X, Y, Z reasons. It's your responsibility to make sure that that data is really secure. And then I guess the final one would be during that selection process, understanding the channel partner that you're buying it from, and understanding their skills. I would always say, don't buy a hosted phone system without seeing a demo. Don't buy a hosted phone system without, coming in and having a look at it, having a play with it. Look at the admin portal. I'd never buy anything off of a slide deck is probably my mantra. If it's hosted, you should be able to demo it. Whether it's demoing a handset that they've brought in, or demoing the admin portal, or showing twinning working. I just think it's always worthwhile to push that kind of salesperson. They're going to try and get a 3-year contract out of you, or a 5-year contract out of you. The least they can do is show you the platform, actually working. And I think that's where buying on premise is harder, because they have to, get a sack trolley and drag a load of
drag the whole phone system out,
drag a load of tin in, and
which we've done when early years. I remember taking a phone system out to a customer site, which was just it's a lot of effort.
Absolutely.
The cloud platform, you literally just say, here's a phone system. It's in the browser. Dial a few numbers. Oh, my phone's ringing, my mobile's ringing. It's just a lot easier.
Absolutely.
Out of interest, actually, you mentioned obviously with not necessarily needing a handset. Do you get many deployments that will not have handsets? Because most of our customers are still very keen to have a physical handset on their desk.
Yeah, hold on. I'm just Twinning's actually
Twinning's
working at the moment. I'm just gonna just sort of busy that
Sorry.
call off. No, it's fine. So yeah, a handset less deployment. I would say that's becoming more and more popular. So before I mentioned about working from home using a soft phone, I think more and more people, even though I sell handsets for a living and sell phones, I think more and more people are used to just using tools on the browser, using tools on the PC. And also, I think when people go around counting up how many users they have, they look at all the handsets and they go, all those handsets are covered in dust. People use email a lot more. They use instant messaging a lot more. Conferences a lot more. So having a phone system that has options for soft phone, but then taking that one step further, it's soft phone into unified communications, and then unified communications into UC and collaboration. So a soft phone is basically just a phone on the PC. Unified communications is more about how you talk internally. So, rather than sending an email to someone, you might double click on their name on the soft phone and then write them a little instant message. And then they might say, well, actually, Will knows more about that than I do. Let me drag and drop him in. So people that have used things like Skype for Business and Link, that whole internal communications, and Gamma was a great example. We used Skype for Business for a long time for internal communications. And then because we couldn't do conferencing as easily on that, we then had another application for conferencing. So we used a third-party conferencing service. So this year we launched something called Collaborate. So natively within Horizon, you can have a soft phone that has effectively been upgraded into something called Collaboration or Collaborate. And that gives you all of the stuff of Skype for Business effectively. So drag and drop, instant messaging, screen sharing internally. But then if you want to, you can open up something called My Room. And then My Room opens up a conference bridge, which is video, again, instant messaging, screen share. You can bring in third parties. And I think one of the really interesting things about this is if you send someone a link, they'll click that link. So this person's outside of your organization. They've never used Collaborate before. They receive a guest link. They click on that guest link. It will open up in Chrome or a browser. All they need to do to join that conference is first name and last name. Now, if they fail at that, then that's just, that's, I guess, their own problem. But the point I'm making, there's lots of conferencing platforms out there that you receive a link to it and you go, oh, great. You click on it and then it goes, oh, please install this. Please access this driver. Web apps. All
WebEx integrations and plugins and
And all of a sudden you're like, the meeting started at 10, but it's 10:15 and I'm still frantically asking my IT manager to unlock my PC to allow me to get this. And I think we were really keen on making the third-party joining experience seamless. So again, click the link. It will open up in a browser, first name, last name, and they're in. And then once they're in, to join the call, they can either press the little phone emblem and that will give them WebRTC, so again, no cost. They can dial in a number, so a local rate number, so it's the cost of local rate number, which most people probably have included in their mobiles or their business lines, or they can get the platform to call me. So I type my mobile number or the number of the conference phone in there, and then the platform calls me. So again, it's seamless and easy to join the web interface, but then to join the audio bridge, again, it's very, very easy and simple to do, which is, I think, probably the biggest downfall of most conferencing platforms is how hard it is to join, or how much it can fail when you don't have the right software running on your machine.
Yeah, very much so. In terms of scale, there's no kind of real minimums, maximums in terms of size that it.
In terms of users on Horizon,
from users, yeah.
So we've got customers that on Horizon that are one-man bands. We've got lots of those. I think our largest customer is a very well-known charity with 4,500, and then everything in between.
Yeah.
So I think certainly for smaller businesses, so that kind of sub 25, hosted phone systems cost in really, really well, because you're not investing in hardware, control units, boards, cards for the PBX. And then certainly as you get larger, I wouldn't look at it from a purely financial perspective. Look at it from that kind of operational perspective as well, because you're factoring in things like ease of use and not having to have as many IT staff to look after a phone system, or in 5 years' time to go through a procurement exercise costs you money to meet 5 vendors, to read all these RFPs and proposals. There's loads of. It's kind of like the iceberg effect of, you can see the cost of the hardware and software, but all those things underneath of, the cost of outages, the cost of, cooling, just calling a data center or calling a comms room.
Yeah.
These things add up, and battery power and all this kind of stuff. So there's lots of these hidden costs associated with on-premise. And I think that, I would certainly say, if I compare Blockbusters to Netflix, I spent far less on Blockbusters, but I would never go back. I spend far more on Netflix now, but if someone said, I'll save you a load of money a year, here's your Blockbusters card back, I probably wouldn't go for it. I'd still keep my, slightly more expensive, but I get way more out of it in terms of, value from Netflix.
In terms of things to come, I know you kind of give me a brief overview of the plans.
So this year we launched the collaboration tool, so that's UC conferencing. We've also launched the new call recording platform that's actually launching this month and kind of being rolled out through the next sort of 3 months. And that's going to have loads of new features, like, being able to give individual people a login so they can just listen to their own calls. And also in the future, we'll be able to do things like notes and tagging. So you could listen to a call recording and then right click, tag, hashtag great sales call. And then you can go in and search for all those great sales calls and listen back to those with your staff. So that's on the call recording side. We've just launched 3 new handsets, the VVX 150, 250 and 450. And we're also, again, without going into too much detail, we're looking to expand our reach outside of our lovely little island that we're on. We're looking to branch out into Europe in the sort of short to medium future as well. So you can have users that are based out there that will have local PSTN breakout, and it means that when they're calling locally, it's like a local call rather than a call coming back from the Horizon platform in the UK.
Wow. Okay. So we have a few customers they've got workers that work abroad and overseas, and they will literally just post a phone over to them, and then they got free calls.
Exactly. It works now, and it works really, really well. It's just when it's a local call in that country.
Exactly.
But again,
break out from
the
there.
call costs are so minimal that people are, they're happy to go along with those.
Brilliant. Cool. Well, I think that's covered all of my questions. So I don't know if we've any questions from the floor or anything we've not covered. David said hi. Hello, David.
Hi, David.
No? Cool. I think we'll probably leave it there in that case.
Awesome. Thank you very much for having us. Cheers.
Thanks for coming along. And I'm trying to think what we've got coming up. I'm not sure who's next coming up. We'll figure something out. And thanks for everyone for listening in or watching, whatever you're doing. And catch you guys on the next one. Thank you. Bye-bye.